Today, we are going to discuss tips and tricks on how to deal with family during large family gatherings, especially when they're not very understanding about your IBD. So, today I was at the grocery store. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I was looking for pumpkin spice. And a woman with a baby strapped to her chest walked right next to me, and I heard her on the phone. It was kind of hard not to hear her because she was talking loud, and she's like, well, they want us to call him Ice. I'm not going to call him Ice. That's ridiculous. I don't want to do that. And I instantly thought to myself, okay, clearly somebody whose name is not Ice wants to be called Ice. I assume it is a child or a teenager. So then, just seeing how up in arms she was, I thought to myself, why is it such a big deal? Maybe this kid's therapist recommended it. Maybe this kid needs to be called Ice for some other reason, unbeknownst to this family member. And so it really made me realize how family gatherings are unnecessarily complicated. So, getting into the IBD realm, for us, many IBD patients have anxiety over food because many things that are served for Thanksgiving, we can't eat. Some people can, some people can't. Some IBD patients don't eat dairy because it exacerbates their symptoms. Some don't eat green beans because it exacerbates their symptoms. And so it's really difficult when you're going into a family situation, especially if your family members don't understand your disease and the nuances and your specific diet. So what can you do to make your life easier? First, do not feel bad about taking your own food. It is totally fine to take your own food to a family gathering. Yes, a lot of the joy is centered around the table, and you know what? You can eat your own food. That is okay. And they shouldn't criticize you for that, because if they do, they aren't being supportive, and you don't have to put yourself in that situation. I know that as an IBD patient, I constantly felt like I was defending my dietary choices and trying to explain that, yes, I'm in a flare. No, it's not because of anything I ate. My body just decided to shit blood, and it's not fun, and it happens 8 to 18 times, sometimes 8 to 20 times a day. And so I said I found foods that my system can handle. And sometimes I couldn't even handle food. I just handled this drink called Peptamen. I will go into much more detail about this in a later episode, but I do not recommend this, and please do not do this. I ordered a beverage called Peptamen, which is a medical supplement, and it's prescribed. Okay, it's prescribed by a RD or doctor, pharmacist, whatever. And I ordered it off of eBay because I didn't know any better. I was pretty young, newly diagnosed, and I wanted the unflavored version, which was designed to go in through a feeding tube. But I was like, no, I don't want the vanilla flavored, which was designed to, either go through a feeding tube or, to be ingested orally. I was like, no, I don't want that because it has artificial vanilla flavor. Oh my gosh, I could have used organic chemistry back then. Thankfully, now I study nutrition science. I am doing IBD research for, nutrition interventions and patient outcomes. And oh my gosh, I wish I knew then what I know now, because I absolutely would have drank the vanilla flavor. And what's crazy is that it tasted so horrible, so I'd put it over ice. But obviously now I'm going down a rabbit hole. But, my point is sometimes I could only drink, medical supplemental beverages, and this one was not prescribed. Don't ever drink it or buy a medical supplement like Peptamen or anything like that. That should be prescribed by a doctor or recommended by an RD on eBay, because that odds are that was prescribed by a different doctor for somebody with a different condition. You have no idea how they stored it in their house, and it could be subject to temperature abuse and not very healthy for you. So again, don't do what I did. That's my whole point of this channel, is to teach you and to talk to you about the things that I've done and what I've learned, so you don't do it, because I don't want you to do what I did. So basically, take your own food. Now that I'm off my tangent, take your own food if you need to, because your dietary choices. And if you feel like you have to constantly defend your position, I know that's overwhelming. I know that causes needless anxiety, as if we IBD patients aren't anxious enough. But you know what? You have to take care of you first. And if you are a parent with a child with IBD, obviously that you have to take care of your child first. I don't care what grandma says. I don't care what Uncle Jojo says or whatever. Your priority is your child, the health and well-being of your child, which I know you know. And if you're an adult, obviously your priority is yourself. I know that family trauma can make it very difficult sometimes for many patients, but remember, you are strong. You know your condition best, and you know what foods work for you. So don't feel pressured into, eating a certain way because that's what your family expects. And also for those of you who are in remission, because I used to hear this all the time. Can you eat that? You can't eat that. You have IBD. Really? You can eat that? And I'm like, yeah, I can eat that depending on my condition. So right now I am mostly in remission. I have random symptoms every now and then. We're working on that. I have switched up my diet just a little bit, but for the most part, other than overly greasy type foods, I can tolerate most things. And so many times I would go to a place, I'd finally be in remission, which is crazy because, your family's used to seeing you one way when you're really, really sick, super, super strict, dietary pattern if you need to. And then you get on steroids and you can eat again, or you get on a biologic or some kind of medical intervention that helps you, and you can finally tolerate more variety of foods. You go to another family gathering and they're like, how can you eat that? Is that really good for you? And so I'll use like Thanksgiving and Christmas as an example. I show up to Thanksgiving, I'm in an all-out flare, super sick, can hardly eat anything, or I'm drinking my Peptamen beverage. And then, my doctor would put me on steroids, and that would instantly, depending on the dose, help my symptoms and give me symptom control. So then, I show up to Christmas, 3 to 4 weeks later, and my family's like, your eating is totally polar opposite of what you ate for Thanksgiving. So which is it? Can you eat this? Can you not eat this? And the thing is, it just depends on the cycle of the disease, especially for me. And so I just want to empower you to eat what you know you can eat, and don't worry about what the peanut gallery thinks. I don't care if it's friends, I don't care if it's family. And if you notice consistent criticism and they're consistently putting you down, then maybe reassess where you want to go next year until they can respect your boundaries. Because again, it is already hard enough being an IBD patient. We need to be around people who support us and build us up, not people who constantly criticize us and put us down. Because again, the disease is hard enough. And so if you must take your food, that is okay. If you're traveling and that's not really an option, then just pick dishes and eat what you can. If you have a good relationship with that family member or friend, which I hope you do if you're able to go for Thanksgiving. Other times, many people are pressured into going because it's family, whatever. Then try and talk to somebody that is making the food and say, hey, can you maybe make this dish? Because, I'm traveling from Boston to California and I really kind of am not going to have time to make my own dish or bring a dish. Or, if you are in a hotel or at a home where you can make your own food, then make a dish for yourself that works for you and take that to share with everybody. Don't even tell them it's like specially, made with whatever ingredients that work best for you. Unless, of course, they have a food allergy or sensitivity, then you absolutely should tell them. And then just mostly eat that. And so what I found worked for me when I was quite sick for Thanksgiving is I would eat, just plain turkey, white meat. I would eat a side of mashed potatoes. Sometimes if it was mixed with heavy cream, that would be a little rough for me. And, that's about it. And maybe some cranberry sauce on the side. But that's what, when I was quite ill, that's what worked for me when I could hardly tolerate food. And it wasn't that much, but at least I, was there talking with family and just, eating what I could. But I remembered that the holiday overall, as long as you have a healthy relationship with your family and friends, the holiday overall is just to talk with them and just enjoy the moment and be in the moment and do whatever you need to decrease anxiety. Because again, us patients with IBD, we're more prone to anxiety. And so the tools that we can put into place to help reduce our anxiety and hopefully supportive family and friends help aid that as well. It all helps. And so again, try and find a supportive environment for you. If it is absolutely toxic, then just don't go. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm in highly toxic environments, that shit lives rent free in my head for a long time, and it doesn't help your overall disease. And so now, I've had it for well over 18 years now, IBD, and I've learned, what I need to do to minimize going into a flare, centered around stressful events. And sometimes flares come without me even realizing it. Sometimes I'm super stressed out and I don't flare. And sometimes I think that I'm calm and chill and I have a flare up. So again, it's just the nature of the disease, but do what you can to minimize your anxiety. Do not ever apologize for your dietary sources. Obviously, be nice about it with your dietary concerns when you're asking, hey, can you maybe prepare the mashed potatoes without heavy cream and maybe just water? Or, can you maybe not put, cream of mushroom all over green beans, maybe just steam some green beans and leave it on the side, or boil green beans if, whatever, any way that you can tolerate. Or, hey, can you maybe puree carrots, or whatever your dietary pattern is. Don't feel bad asking, and don't apologize. Be grateful, obviously, like, oh, thank you so much for making that for me, I truly appreciate it. Or bring your own dish if you're able, but don't ever feel bad that you have dietary restrictions, because again, you have IBD. We are different than the general healthy population, and that's okay. We have different dietary needs. Some can eat whatever, and that's fine, but you know your body best. Don't let anybody shame you about your dietary choices, and just try and enjoy the holiday gatherings as best as possible. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow, and I look forward to connecting with you all again soon.